So what I want to do here is talk a little bit about the concept of variable scope in JavaScript. We don't know enough yet to consider everything, but we can just touch on the basics. So first and foremost, when we talk about variable scope, it's basically where you're able to access, or we say use your variable in your JavaScript program. So let's start with a very simple example. I'm going to create 3 global variables. And when I say a global variable, this is a variable that has a global scope, meaning it can be accessed anywhere in the program. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to declare these variables outside of any code block or any function. So I'm just going to do something like const, and I'll do something like my string. Let's set this equal to hello. And let's do something like let my number, let's set this equal to 3. Let's do something like var my boolean, okay? Let's set this equal to true, okay? So now if I console.log these 3 variables, there's no issues, no problems, right? So basically I have access to these 3 variables anywhere. So let's go ahead and pop this open and let's run this guy. We get hello, 3, and true, okay, as expected. But let's say I set up a little code block, and in JavaScript we can do this by basically just wrapping our code inside of some curly braces, okay? So this is my code block here, and basically once I set up a code block, the variables that I declared with const and let will no longer be accessible outside of that block, okay? So let's pop this open and clear this and run this, and you see my string is not defined, okay? So this has to do with the scope of the variables here. So const and let are what we call block scoped. So the variable can only be used inside of the block where it was created. So let's go ahead and grab this and let's cut this away and let's just paste this in here. And let's put this on a new line so it's more readable. And let me even put this here. I have an automatic formatter, but it's turned off right now. So let's kind of format this up a little bit. And let's go ahead and run this now. So we'll clear this and run this. And you see there's no problems again. Hello, 3, and true. And that's because my console.log statement is inside of this block where these variables were created. Now, this is for const and let. For var, it doesn't work that way. I can get rid of this part right here, okay? And I can come down here, and if I console.log this my boolean variable, it's fine. Even though I declared this variable my boolean with var inside of a code block, I can still access it outside. So let's go ahead and pop this open, clear this, and run this. You get hello and 3, okay? That's coming from your line 5 here, okay? This console.log statement. And then from line 7, you're getting true. Okay, so you see that var is different in this way from let or const. All right, let's erase this and use a fresh example. So you've seen already in this course where we've basically changed the value of a variable based on some condition, right? So we've run if-else statements to do this. You could do this with a conditional operator, but I'm gonna do something that's gonna be quite inefficient, but it's just to solidify the concept, okay? So I'm gonna basically set up a little console.log statement that tells you whether you can attend a training or not attend a training based on whether you have a computer or not. Again, there's going to be better ways to do this, but I'm just going to show you something this way. So const has computer. I'm going to set this equal to true for right now. And then I'm going to do const first name. Let's set this equal to, let's say Sarah. Okay, let's work with that. Now, again, this is going to be inefficient. So I'm going to do if, I'm going to go has computer. So if this is true, I'm going to create a variable using let. So I'm going to go let can attend. And I'm going to set this equal to true. Okay, so basically this is telling you you can attend the training. So then else, basically you don't have a computer. I'm going to declare a variable using let again. So the same one, so can attend. And I'm going to set this equal to false. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is outside of this guy is I'm going to set up a little console.log. So console.log. And I'm going to use some backticks here and say that the first name variable, and I forgot my $sign, so put my first name variable, and then I'm going to do this with the conditional operator, so I'm going to put can attend. I'm going to ask if that's true, and if it is, I'm going to put can attend, and basically if it's not, I'm going to put can't attend, and I forgot to put quotes there, so let's do that again, so can't attend, and then outside of here, and I'll put the training. Okay, if I can spell that correctly. So right now you're going to have a problem because, well, first off, I didn't spell this correctly, but basically you have can attend and can attend. In each case, this is declared using let, okay, and it's inside of a block. So you have your curly braces to define this code block here. So right now, it's not going to be able to find this can attend, right? It's going to say reference error, can attend is not defined. So let's pop this open and run this, and we get can attend is not defined, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you can grab this guy. Let's cut this away. And I'm just going to paste it in right here. And I'm going to paste it in right here. And again, this is very inefficient, but it will work, right? Because I'm referencing something that was created inside the same block. So if we pop this open and we clear this guy and then we run this guy, we get Sarah can attend the training, okay? Again, if you come back up here and let's say you make this to false, meaning we come here to the has computer, this is false, right? So this is going to get skipped. So inside of here, this is going to get run. So we create this variable can attend, we set it to false. And then here we're asking, is this true? No, it's false. So this is what we have, the can't attend, right? So we have first name, which is Sarah, can't attend the training. So let's pop this open, clear this and run this, and we get Sarah can't attend the training. Now, one way around this, let me go ahead and get rid of this from here. And let me go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to just cut it away, okay? One way around this, and you've seen us do this already, you can declare the variable outside of the code block. So what I mean here is, let's come up here, let's get rid of this, okay? And I'm going to up here, use let and go let can attend, okay? You can't use const here because when you declare a variable using const, you have to give it a value right away. Okay, but you can use let. Right now the value is undefined. Then it looks to see if has computer is true. If it is, can attend gets set to true. Okay, if it's not, then can attend gets set to false. So now, because I did this outside of any code block, I've created a global variable. And so when we get down here, we're going to be able to access this variable and set up our little statement. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear this and run this. And we get Sarah can't attend the training. Again, if you flip this to true, then it's going to flip again. So clear this and run this. You get Sarah can attend the training. Now, one more thing before we kind of conclude with this. Let's get rid of this altogether. Okay, and let's go back to what we were doing before. I'm going to just use my multi-line selector and type var here. With var, again, I just showed you in the last example, this is not block scoped. Okay, so basically I can do this here and it works fine. So if we pop this back open, clear this and run this, we get Sarah can attend the training. And then if I flip this back to, let's say false, okay, pop this open, clear this and run this, you get Sarah can attend the training. So you really need to understand the difference between var, let, and const, okay? And when you're using them, you need to understand where you can access them in your program. All right, so now I want to think about something called function scope, okay? So when we declare a variable inside of a function, those variables are local to the function. Okay, so in other words, they have function scope and can only be accessed from within the function. So this is true for let, const, or even var. Okay, so if you declare a variable with var inside of a function, okay, it's not going to be accessible outside of that function. Also, these local variables that we call them are deleted when the function is completed. So let's go function create string. And for this example, I'm not going to have any parameters. So I'm basically going to declare some variables in here. Let's use const. So I'm going to go const first name equals, let's say John, and let's just do something like let, and I'm gonna do car, and let's set that equal to Honda, okay? And then let's go ahead and say something like var, and I'll do something like job, and I'll set this equal to, let's go web developer, okay? So if I come outside of here, it doesn't matter which one of these you try to access. Let's say we console.log, let's start with first name. We're not going to have access to it because this is only local to this guy. I actually need to run this function first. So let's create string. Let's call this guy. Okay. So basically what's going to happen is when you console.log this first name variable, you're not going to have access to it. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. And you see first name is not defined. Okay. The same thing would go for car. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. Same thing. Car is not defined. And then it's also true for job. Okay. So if we clear this and run this, you get job is not defined. What you could do, okay, is you could set up a little string in here. So I could return, okay, something like this. I could say the first name variable drives, and I missed my quotes there. So drives a $ curly braces, we'll put a car. Okay, so this would be, in this case, John drives a Honda and works as a, and then we're going to put the job in there. Okay. And basically, if I'm returning this, when I run this right here, I'm going to get this string back. Okay, it's going to fill in what it has. So it's going to say John drives a Honda and works as a web developer. And basically I can save this to, again, a little variable. So we do something like const my string is equal to this. And then I can console.log that guy. So let's go ahead and console.log this my string variable. So let's go ahead and pop open the terminal, clear this and run this. We get John drives a Honda and works as a web developer. And I probably should put a period there, okay, for completeness. But basically you see that when you create variables inside of the function, they're local variables and they have function scope. So they can only be accessed from within the function. Now, let me cover something else that might be confusing. Let's say that I come over here and let's go ahead and do some other things. So I'm going to go something like const first name. So notice that this variable name is the same as this variable name. And I'm going to set this equal to Steve, okay? And I'm going to go const car, and he's going to have a Ford. And then I'm going to go const job, and let's say he's a doctor, okay? So much more important than me. So let's come down here, and I'm just going to console.log, the same little thing. So let's come up here and grab this. I'm going to grab this guy right here and put this inside my console.log statement. And let's see what we get. So basically this first name here is set to Steve, the car here is set to Ford, and the job is set to doctor. So again, because these guys right here are local, when we run this console.log statement, it's going to grab these global variables, okay? And then when we get down here, this is going to be from the function. So let's pop this open and clear this and run this. We get Steve drives a Ford and works as a doctor, and we get John drives a Honda and works as a web developer. Now, one more thing I want to cover. Let me get rid of this real quick. Every time we run this function, these guys are created, okay, these variables, and then once the function's done its job, the variables are deleted, okay, they're gone. So this is confusing to a lot of people because let's say that I take this guy right here and I comment this guy out, okay, and let's say we come down here and I go const first name equals to John, okay, and then I go const first name equals to John again. Well, you're going to have a problem there, right? Because you can't redeclare something with const. Let's go ahead and console.log the first name variable. You're going to get an error. So let's pop this open, clear this, and run this, and you get first name has already been declared, okay? So why is this confusing? Well, if I run this function multiple times, you'll notice that we did in fact use const. So you have const first name. So let's say I came down here and I said something like console.log create string, and I'm going to run this multiple times. So let's go ahead and go through here. So you can imagine that a lot of developers are confused because you have this const first name that goes over and over and over again, but you're not going to have an issue here because once the function's done its job, it's going to delete that variable. Okay, so when it comes back to run the function again, it's fresh, right? There is no first name that was declared with const. The function has exited, it's done its job, so it's gone. Okay. So one other concept that I want to cover before we leave, and that's the concept of strict mode in JavaScript. Now, again, we're getting to something where we don't know all the things that strict mode is going to do, but I can show you one thing that it's going to do right now for you, and this can be a huge help for you. So if you're working on a very large project or even something that's minor, you often will make mistakes, typos. You might forget to declare a variable using const or something like that. If you set up a function, let's say we do something like function and we go my greeting, okay? And let's go ahead and say something like const first name. Let's set this equal to John, and let's go const last name, and let's set this equal to Green. Let's say that I call this function, so my greeting, okay? And then from down here, I try to console.log this guy, and I'll just go hi, I am, and then I'll use my first name variable. Nope, didn't want that, so first name variable. And then I want my last name variable. So last name variable, and then welcome to the video, something like that. So I'll put a period, and then let's even do a little emoji guy. So let's do sunglass guy. I like him. So if I try to run this right now, we know there's an error, right? Because first name and last name, those are not global variables. They are function scope, right? They're local to this function. So if I pop this open, clear this, and run this, we know we get an error, right? First name is not defined. But let's say I forgot, okay, and this happens a lot. You might think that it doesn't, but it happens a lot. Let's say I forgot to type const. So I just type first name, I just type last name. So basically, this guy is going to create a global variable, okay? And in most cases, I would say in almost every case, you don't want to do this. You don't want to accidentally create a global variable. So if you pop this open now and clear this and run this, you'll see, hi, I am John Green, welcome to the video. So to prevent this from happening, you have something called strict mode, okay? So you can do this either at the top of your function, it's gotta be the first line. So you can type use strict, either with double or single quotes, or you could do it at the top of the file. So for this one, it's just applying to the function, okay? For the top of the file, it's going to apply to the whole file. Now, I use this all the time in my personal projects. I recommend you use it as well. It's gonna catch a lot of bad syntax that normally would run, okay? But in this case, it's gonna stop it from running. So if we pop this open and clear this and run this, now we get an error. Okay, so now we get an error, and basically it's saying that the first name is not defined. Okay, so this is going to throw an error there. Now if I remove this from here, let's say I cut it out of here, and I put this up here, okay, I put my use strict up there, it's going to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. You get the same thing, right? So it's going to tell you as your error, first name is not defined. And this would work also outside of a function. Let's say that you're just typing something. Let's say you do something like my first name is equal to, let's say, Sarah. And I don't use let const or var. Well, what's going to happen here, when I run this, it's going to give me the first name is not defined. Okay, so this is a good tool that you can use to stop you from making some rather silly typo mistakes and giving you a global variable when you didn't want one.